Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Our Life chapter where I make a fool out of myself because I can't read properly, but I still keep doing it because I have no dignity. Anyways, this is going to be, yes, one of my favorites, Runaway. Yes! Oh, this one's long, I think. I'm kind of hot already. It was early and you were on your way to the playground. Lizzie planned on joining you there later. You weren't sure what she was busy with right now. Older kid stuff, you imagined. That was okay. What was forefront in your mind was if Cove might be free to come too. As you walked the familiar street, wondering how you might find your neighbor, he appeared right in front of you, almost as if he was a mind reader. Hi, can you play now? No, sorry. Cove looked strangely serious. It had to be an even bigger deal than whatever mystery thing Lizzie had to do. I'm leaving, Jamie. What? Where? He shifted and your gaze was drawn to the backpack slung over his shoulders. Cove liked to stuff things into his pockets from what you've seen, but people sometimes carried bags with them. It hadn't been very attention worthy until now. The pack was decorated with cartoon waves and dolphins. He gripped one of the straps tightly with his good hand. I just wanted you to know. Cove didn't glance up and meet your eyes. You started to grow worried. I don't get it, but where are you going? Oh, can I go too? I'll come with you. Okay, so the first time playing, I went with him. But let's not go with him this time. Like, I kind of want to be in the good side with my moms. First time playing, I always chose whatever was best for Cove because, of course. I'm just gonna say, oh. He didn't react. It was as if you hadn't said anything. I'll come back though sometime. I don't know when, but we can do stuff then. He directed a fragile smile your way. Without another word, Cove turned on his heel and started to walk away. Bye, see you when you're done. Wait, you couldn't say anything else to him. Wait. He kept going. His focus wasn't on you anymore. What was that about? You watched as his backpack grew smaller and smaller, then you realized that you were still standing in the middle of the sidewalk. You thought about your earlier plan of playing at the park. Suddenly, it didn't seem as fun anymore. Not without Cove. But it wasn't like you could force him to play with you. He had things to do. You went to play at the park. You stayed there. I don't want to go play. And I mean, well, he didn't say he was gone, you know, and we're 8. We're not supposed to assume that he's running away. I'm gonna stay there. You could play at the park some other time. It wasn't like it was going anywhere, and you couldn't bring yourself to leave like this. You didn't move from your spot, you just continued to look on quietly. It didn't take long to realize that he was just going up the street. You were positive there was nothing good over there. Not the park, or the beach, or the store street, or his house, or anything. You hesitated, unsure if Cove would want to be bothered before running after him anyway. He was new, he might not know what you did. You slowed down once you reached his side. He glanced at you from the corner of his eye, frowned. Go away, Jamie. But there's nothing out that way. His mouth twisted further. He didn't appreciate your warning. I'm still going. Why? What are you doing? Walking? But why do you have to walk that way? Cove let out a deep sigh. You got the feeling that he was starting to get mad at you. I told you I'm leaving. I'm gonna be gone for a while. I don't want to go with him this time. Oh, but that was such a pretty bonding moment. I don't wanna let him go, but I don't wanna go with him, and that's the only two options I have. And I don't like it. Well, maybe that I still want to go with you is because we're 8 and we still don't know that he's actually skipping towns or whatever it's called. I'm gonna let him go. It was clear that he was on a mission. What was the point of insisting? It just make him more annoyed. Your steps faltered and you slowed to a stop. Cove kept pushing forward. You're really coming back? He paused, glancing over his shoulder. His lips were pressed into a line. You weren't sure what the look meant. Yeah, sometime. Bye. Once again, he walked away from you. This time you turned around too. You resumed your own walking, but in the opposite direction. Maybe Cove and his dad were going on a vacation. That had to be it. You reasoned. After all, Cove said he was gonna be back. He wasn't moving again. You would go to the playground alone like you'd planned before. You could play with Cove when you saw him next time. After a couple of hours at the playground by yourself, it had gotten firmly into afternoon. You were on the swing set with your feet buried in the sand when you spotted Lizzie in the distance. She was rushing over like something was on her tail, chasing her. You knew she would be coming, but was she that excited to get to the park? Instead of nabbing the swing beside yours, Lizzie stopped in front of you. She bent over, balanced her hands on her knees, and panted. Did you hear? Hear what? Lizzie bounced back up, her eyes blown wide. You only saw her this worked up when she found the new hiding place of Mom's sugar stash. It's about Cove. Cove? Something in the pit of your stomach dropped at hearing his name. You listened intently as Lizzie explained. I just came out when I saw lots of people gather around in the middle of the street. They were talking kind of quietly, so I don't think I was supposed to hear, but that just means it was important. So I snuck up and heard everything. She paused dramatically. Clearly, she wanted you to say something. So, what did you hear? Tell me. I don't really care. You just looked at her. Fucking tell me. Lizzie raised her eyebrows at your insistence, and she continued easily. Cove is missing. He left a piece of paper for Mr. Holden to tell him he was going away and would be gone for a long time, and no one's seen him since. Now they're searching the whole neighborhood. The grown-ups were even saying that if they don't find Cove soon, they'll call the police. The police? This was horrible. You had seen Cove. You knew he was going someplace, but you had no idea it was like that. I'm 8. What am I supposed to know? Was Cove going to be arrested for running away? You thought you might have to go to jail too for not saying anything and letting him go. Wait, what? Did I skip something? You glanced back at Lizzie. Should tell her that you'd known about Cove leaving? Or would it be better to keep that to yourself? I'm gonna keep that as a secret. Now wasn't the time to bring it up. Actually, finding Cove was more important. Plus, all of this wasn't your fault. You had no idea that things would turn out so bad. I'm 8. You watched as your sister began to pace in front of you. I know Mom said Cove was sad about moving here, but running away from home is crazy. Where else is he gonna go anyway? I don't know. I want to find him. I hope someone finds him too. I mean, soon. Yeah. I'd go tons of places. You didn't have an answer. I want to find him. Lizzie scrunched her face up, thinking deeply for a moment. Then she nodded and planted her hands on her hips, determined. I'm gonna look too. You are? Mm-hmm. We can play at the park any day, and the more people there are looking, the quicker someone will find him. Maybe I'll be the one who does. I'm the best at hide and seek, after all. It seemed like Lizzie wanted to look not only because she was concerned about Cove, but also because it was the most interesting thing to happen this week. Wish me luck. Girl, a guy is missing. Don't turn it into a game. Before you could say anything, she ran off in the opposite direction from where she came. You were left in the dust in a matter of moments. That was your sister for you. That was your sister for you. What? But Lizzie's appearance in this crisis faded to the back of your mind just as quickly. Cove. He told his dad he was leaving to go somewhere by himself. Why did Cove suddenly decide to do that today? Did something bad happen? It was impossible to say for sure. Unfortunately, you had no idea where he could have gone. I do! You thought hard. There were the hills behind your house. He had gone there the first time you met, but he's not there now. But someone would have checked there already. They wouldn't need the police for that. Cove must be far away, or hiding somewhere, if the whole neighborhood was looking for him. You swung back and forth, your lips pursed in contemplation. If I were Cove, where would I go? Lizzie had said Cove was crazy for running away from home, but he never considered Sunset Bird at his home, did he? His real home was somewhere else. With Mama! There was only one place that came to mind that might be important enough for Cove to go off like this. It was a good idea, except how was he gonna get there? Could he take a bus? Was he gonna walk the whole way? You didn't know what direction he needed to take, but wait, there was only one way he could go. Going down the street just led to the beach, so that couldn't be right. Going to either side would mean he'd get stuck by buildings and fences and big slopes like the one behind your house. That left going up the street. You knew that road. It led into the main part of town. It kept going all the way to the city limits. Cove didn't know the area well. You didn't think he'd want to go off that road onto some random other street. Which meant, if someone followed that path, they might find him somewhere along it. The grown-ups seemed to all be looking in the neighborhood, so you had to tell them to search. You had to go find Cove by yourself. Should I go find Cove by myself? I mean, that would be doing the same thing. I'm gonna go find Cove by myself. You were worried about Cove and didn't have to bother anyone. Plus, you might be wrong. It was your idea, so you should be the one to check there. You rushed to where you had abandoned your flip-flops and slipped them on. They slapped against the sand as you left the playground. You went right up along the main street, keeping an eye out for Cove. No one else had the same idea as you, it seemed, because you were completely alone there. Why didn't they? I mean, it's kind of obvious. Like, he wanted to go home. He kept saying he wanted to go home and he misses his mom and his home and whatever, so you passed through your whole neighborhood. And then the next one over, and the next. Your worry festered like a wound the longer you searched for your friend. Just how far had Cove gone? It's been a while, girl. You kept walking. You even called out for Cove a few times, but you didn't see that familiar mop of green hair anywhere. After a while, the sun began to dip out of the sky. It would be dark soon, and there was still no sign of your neighbor. You weren't... Yep, here's where Mama found us, I think. You weren't even in the residential district by this point. You had reached the central part of town. The area was at once strange and familiar. You'd been here before, of course, but never without moms close by. They would drive you. Your footsteps slowed. I'm in flip-flops filled with sand. Ouch! You started second-guessing your decision to go ahead by yourself. It wasn't like you knew for sure where Cove went. Cove? You shouted his name a few times as you had done periodically this entire time, but there was nothing. Maybe he's not going this way. Was he somewhere else? Had someone found him already? You turned back. I'm gonna call forward 'cause I'm already here. You were able to make it this far. You had to continue the search, of course. With that in mind, you pushed yourself to walk a little faster. People said this was a really tiny town, but to you it felt absolutely gigantic. Eventually, the business part of town ended too. There was no sidewalk anymore, only a long expanse of road. You walked on the grass instead. Oh, I've been there. Onward was the only option. Your journey stubbornly continued. No, it wasn't there. Wait, Mom found us somewhere, but we stopped here at some point. Yeah. So we turned back. Yeah, because I convinced him to turn back. Oh, I don't remember. Your feet hurt, of course. I mean, I'm in flip-flops filled with sand, and I've been walking all day. Of course they hurt. You were tired, you were on your own, but somehow you had reached the very edge of Sunset Bird. That's what the sign told you. You had lived in Sunset Bird forever, and it was a very rare occasion that you'd see this sign. Most everything in your life happened inside the city limits. I'm 8. The endless road ahead seemed scary in a way. It paralyzed you and finally put an end to your forward momentum. You scanned your surroundings instead of dwelling on that. You deeply hoped he hadn't gone past that sign either. Cove? The previous times you'd called his name, there had been no answer. You couldn't be surprised that one didn't come this time either until Jamie? A dark blob just behind one of the exit sign's legs shifted. You squinted as it continued to move. The more you stared, the more your eyes adjusted, and the more that dark blob resembled a person. Then you realized just who it was. It was Cove! He was here! You actually found him! He hesitantly got up from where he'd been sitting, as if to make sure he had actually heard something. Then he caught sight of you, his eyes wide behind his glasses. There you are. Are you crazy? I'm so happy you're here. I've been looking everywhere for you. I knew you'd be here. You were just stunned, and it left you silent. I'm so happy you're here. I've been looking everywhere for you because I have been looking everywhere for you. Cole finally blinked as you ran up to him, your feet still aching. How did you find me? You said you were leaving and you always wanted to go back home. So I thought you must have come this way. Oh. And that was all he said. After all of this, maybe he didn't realize how seriously the adults were taking it. What are you gonna do now? Are you okay? We should head back now. Are you okay? He didn't look away. His brows were pinched and his shoulders tense. You got the feeling pointing that You got the feeling pointing that out wouldn't help matters. Sora, read straight. Everyone's looking for you. That caught his attention. He frowned at you. They are? Yeah, the whole neighborhood. Lizzie told me they might even call the police. We might get arrested. What? Why? I don't know, because you tried to run away probably, and I knew, so I'm your accomplice. Was that the word? You thought so. You'd heard it before. on those detective shows Mommy likes to watch. We're not gonna be arrested, although Cove said that. He looked a little worried over the news. Come on, Cove, let's go home. No. He spoke crossly. You were thirsty and exhausted, and you weren't sure you could keep going back and forth about this. Why not? How come? Why? Why can't we just go? You're stupid. I don't understand why you can't go back. How come? Let's be a little understanding with our little asshole. Your question caused him to waver, but not budge. At first, Cove was quiet. You started to think he wouldn't say anything. Then he spoke. My mom called today to check up on me and stuff. She asked what Sunset Bird was like and how I was doing. It was okay. But when I asked if she'll come here, Mom said she couldn't. I can't go back either. Not right now. She has to move to somewhere else first. Cove glared at the ground. His voice cracked as he continued. Why can't I see her? Why can't I even see her anymore? He used his uncasted arm to rub both of his eyes. I'm gonna go myself. I don't need anyone to take me. How are you gonna get to your mom's place? That's such a bad idea. This was all just too much, and you started to cry. Do you know the directions to your old house? You're being selfish. He is being selfish. He's a little selfish. A little bitch. You're being selfish. It's always about what you want. You never think about anyone else. Cove glared harsher at you than you'd ever seen before. You didn't have to come. You didn't have to do anything. Why should I have to not do what I want just because you don't like it? That isn't fair. I was only trying to help. I came because you're my friend and I like you. Don't you like and care about me too? It isn't just me. You're making everyone upset for yourself. You couldn't even reply. No. I came because I care about you. Don't you fucking care about me? We're 8. That's ridiculous, but I'm gonna say it. Say it. I went all the way to the edge of the town. Cove's mouth fell open. He could only manage one word. Jamie? I wanted to see you be happy again. I really tried, but it doesn't matter to you if I'm okay or if anybody else is. His lower lip trembled at your declaration and his eyes started to become even more wet. I'm sorry, I care. I want you to be happy too. It's just... Oh, low battery. Then he shook his head like he was trying to clear it. When he spoke some more, it was mostly to himself. If I don't go see Mom, then she's... Fresh tears glistened in Cove's red-rimmed eyes. He stubbornly tried to blink them away, but they slipped down his cheeks. You frowned at the sight. No matter what, you hated seeing him cry. He cries all the time, though! Cove? Mom doesn't call that much, and I haven't seen her in so long. Ugh. Cove hiccuped, wiping his face with the back of his arm. His glasses got shoved up awkwardly as a result. If I don't go, she'll be gone. She'll forget about me. She wouldn't do that. How do you know? She's your mom. She loves you. Your mom's always said that. So it must be true for Cove's mom too. Not all the time. Not all the time. But we want to believe. I mean, the mom is awesome. Of course we believe. Cove niffled. He seemed conflicted. I'm not sure if that's right. You were at a standstill. Everything will be okay if we just go home. We can't stay here forever and we can go out there. We're gonna go back. Then we'll stay out here. I'm not gonna go back. I'll stay out here. I'm not gonna go back until you come with me. His lower lip trembled at your declaration. Are you sure? You don't have to. You can still go home without me. You didn't leave a letter or anything. I'm sure. Thanks. I'm gonna get in so much trouble. This is the same thing. I wanted to be good for my moms, and now I'm doing the same thing I did the first time I played. It's what my gut tells me to do, okay? The final part of his statement was whispered. You're always there when I think I'm gonna be by myself. Does that mean I'm stalking you now? And that was that from him. Both of you shuffled towards the sign. He sat near it again, and you followed, crossing your legs under yourself. He zipped open his backpack and offered you a snack, which you took. You hadn't had dinner, so you were hungry. There was a feeling of oh my god, camaraderie, camaraderie in the silence as you ate. Do you think they called the police after all? Everyone must still be looking for Cove, and you too now. No, probably not. He didn't sound confident though. You still hoped he was right. You didn't want to go to jail. You weren't sure how much time passed. All you knew was that one moment you were letting your eyelids droop while huddling near Cove under the sign, and the next you were snapped back to attention by the blaring beep of a horn. Cove froze. You wiped around to see a car approaching you. It was difficult to make out who it was. The headlights were so blinding. Instead of continuing down the road, the car slowed near where you sat. The window rolled down, revealing the face behind the wheel. It was very familiar. Mom! She found us in a different place this time. She shouted back, and not just because there was some distance between you and her. What are you kids doing here? I've been looking everywhere for you. I'm sorry, Mom. She stopped looking at you, instead staring hard straight ahead. Both her hands were gripping the wheel. Guilt ate you up from the inside. Get in, let's get you two home. My mom would have just stepped out of the car and beat the shit out of me with a fucking stick. At least made her showing up worth it. Your feet were aching like crazy from all the walking you'd done today. You yanked open the side door, slipped inside the back seat, then clambered over so Cove had enough room to climb into. He followed in wordlessly, tucking his backpack near his feet. Your mom looked at you and Cove from the rearview mirror. The two of you had us extremely worried. That wasn't a good thing to do, not at all. Shamefaced, you both nodded as one. Sorry, Mrs. White. Sorry, Mom. She softened immediately, not enough to actually let it go. I mean, I would legit just beat the crap out of them. You'll have to apologize to everyone else too. With that, Mom started the car up again and you were off. For the rest of the car ride, no one said anything. You thought all of you were pretty tired. In fact, you must have dozed off at some point because you woke up to the sound of the engine stopping. Then you opened your eyes, you realized Cove was looking over at you. He was tense. We're back. You yawned and got out of the car. Cove came out after, putting his backpack on again. Mom locked the car door and motioned you two towards the house. She opened the front door and let you go in first. Mommy appeared quickly. She must have been waiting nearby. There was a phone in her hand. It worried you, thinking about who she might be talking to. The police! The tight line in her shoulders relaxed when she saw you and Cove. Oh, thank goodness. You found both of them. Yes, I did. They were at the actual end of town, right under the now leaving sign. What were you two doing there this time of night? Do you have any idea how far that is? How unsafe? You picked at Cove. He still looked exhausted. His eyes were puffy, and there were dry tear tracks sticking to his cheeks. I wanted to see my mom. Jamie came to get me. Your own moms shared a look. You weren't sure what it meant, but they always did that. You wondered if they could read each other's minds. I love my moms. They're so cute. Since they were communicating telepathically, you stole a glance around the house. Lizzie wasn't anywhere inside. Could she be outside somewhere searching for Cove still? Where's Lizzie? Your sister's in her room, fast asleep. How late is it? The same way you should have been. She came back earlier. She had been out looking for Cove after accidentally finding out he was missing. She tried to pretend otherwise, but she was worried. Said she checked all the hiding places she could think of, but she couldn't find Cove. You and Cove exchanged remorseful glances. At that, Mommy noticed the discomfort. You two must be sleepy. You can sit down wherever you like. Mommy smiled warmly and motioned to the living room. Cove looked up at her, then lumbered over. You followed close behind. Where's Mr. Holden? The living room wasn't far or separated by a wall, so you heard your moms talking softly. He wanted to go see his mother. Poor thing. Not in front of him? That explains it, at least. Still, I'm not sure it excuses it. It was so dangerous to go off into town like that. He's having a hard time right now. You can't expect a child to handle it maturely, of course. But still. True, it can't be helped. But that's enough for that. We should tell Cliff and the others that he's here before the panic gets out of hand. There could be riots. Riots? For a kid? Well, I mean, he could have been kidnapped. But he left the letter, so... I'll call. Then go to the front to tell everyone's still out there. You keep an eye on the kids. Make sure they don't take any more trips today. Got it, hon. Cove just sat there on the couch, setting his backpack down beside him. He stared at his hand. I'm sorry, Jamie. You face him quietly. I didn't want to make you feel bad. I don't want to fight. And you won't do it again? I'm sorry too. You took his apology wordlessly. And you won't do it again? I won't. Not for real. Okay, I don't want to fight either. Having him apologize did make you feel better. He looked relieved that the two of you were going to be able to get past this. When it seemed silence would descend upon the two of you again, the front door opened. Your mom was back with Mr. Holden close behind her. He made a beeline for the couch, his gaze trained on his son. Cove, God, are you alright? I'm Mr. Holden. Strands of his hair had fallen out of his ponytail. His eyes were darkened, like he'd been crying too. Oh my God. Mr. Holden, I love you. Cove stared up at his dad, his own eyes wide behind the frame of his glasses. He really hadn't expected it to be such a big deal. I'm okay. How come you not expect, I was 8 at some point in my life, and I thought about running away 1.5 million times. And I knew it was a fucking big deal for your loved ones, you know? So I never did it. I wanted to, but I never did it. Good, that's good. I'm so glad to hear that. Boy, slap the kid. I think maybe I didn't do it because I was afraid of my mom. He clasped a hand on his son's shoulder, attempting a smile, but the corners of his lips twitched and word, as if they wanted to wilt into a frown instead. Cove seemed to have that effect on him. Stop doing that. Mr. Holden turned to you, still smiling weakly. I'm so happy you're alright too, Jamie. Then he looked at your moms. Thanks for your help, as always. He laughed pitifully. And I'm very sorry for ruining your afternoon with this. I can't apologize enough. It was no trouble, Cliff, really. It wouldn't be helped. It couldn't be helped. In a way, something was bound to happen sometime. Besides, he wasn't the only one who decided it was a good idea to disappear today. I did it for a good reason. Exactly. We're just happy the kids are safe and sound. Not for the first time that day you recalled your original meeting with Cove. He had run away then too, only not as far as he had today. Cove must have had a familiar thought because he mumbled an apology. Sorry, Dad, I won't leave anymore, promise. Some life seemed to return to Mr. Holden thanks to his promise. This time around, his smile was more genuine. That's a relief to hear. Next time you feel like running off, come to me first, okay? We can talk about it. I'm here for you. Mr. Holden, marry me! Or adopt me, whatever you want. Cove nodded. His dad reached out and mussed his hair playfully. Although he made a face, Cove didn't try to dodge the hand as he usually did. Let's go home, bud. I'd bet you're as tired as I am. Take a shower. You walked a lot during summertime. Mr. Holding took over carrying Cove's backpack, still clasping a free hand on his son's shoulder when he stood up from the couch. The five of you walked over to the front door so you could see them off. Mr. Holding thanked your moms profusely at least 3 more times before he walked out the door. Cove was made to follow. But he stopped and turned to you before stepping through the threshold. Thanks, Jamie. You're welcome. A tiny smile flitted across his lips. There had been gone. There and then gone. I'm glad you're okay. You waved him up. You hugged him. I'm gonna hug him. Before he was gone, you reached over to give him a hug goodbye after a hard day. You held your back more tightly. Oh, he held you back more tightly than you could have anticipated, and you almost squeaked out a noise. I'm glad you're here. Aww! His embrace was tight but brief. He let go as soon as he said what he wanted to. And with that, Cove left. Mommy closed the door behind them. You were practically dead on your feet at that point. Your fatigue must have been obvious because your moms sent you right to bed with no more discussion on what happened that day. They're not concerned about all the walking and I did, and obviously I'm dirty, so they're not like I should fucking shower. They don't know if I ate. They don't know that Cove gave me a snack. A snack is not proper dinner. So moms, why aren't you asking? I mean, I know they're worried. They were worried all day, and like enough is enough. Just go to bed. But you know, don't send me to bed without taking a fucking shower. Once your head hit the pillow, your eyes slipped close on their own. Your eyelids were so heavy you couldn't open them again until the next morning. You woke up much more at ease than you had felt when you were less conscious. It was almost like it was a dream, but it definitely wasn't. Your mom's faces when you saw them assured that. After breakfast, you were sat down and your family went over yesterday's events in full. They were none too pleased that you went out to find Cove on your own. As punishment, your moms took away your TV privileges for the next few days. Lizzie was annoyed that she couldn't watch her shows with you around, but she adjusted. Whenever you expressed disappointment, your moms reminded you that they weren't punishing you for no reason. It was dangerous to go out of town not town. I am already not reading like letter mixing. Oh my god, I can't even talk. Ah! It was dangerous to go out on your own so late and without telling anyone. You could have gotten hurt or worse, kidnapped and killed by a fucking serial killer pedophile. Yes, I know. And I knew that when I was 8. So what the fuck is wrong with Cove and me? Because I followed him. As upset as you were, you understood. Mr. Holding talked to Cove about what happened too. You didn't know what was said exactly, but Mr. Holding forgave Cove immediately. Mr. Holding is like the best. The best. It's so... But at the same time, it's like he doesn't really know how to be a parent. Because, you know, like, don't let your kid walk inside the house all full of sand and you know, like, dripping water. I don't know if that's happened yet. But yeah, the house is a disaster. Not a disaster, but you know what I mean. And like forgiving him this quickly, like he ran away, man. They like bit the crap out of him. I know y'all don't do that. Latinos do that though. I was beaten a lot of times, and I wasn't as bad as Cove is. He didn't do anything to punish Cove for running away. He blamed no one but himself for Cove's desire to leave home. Why? Why did Cove's mom decide to divorce? Or maybe they both decided to divorce. I need to know more about that. You caught your moms discussing it once in hushed tones, frowning at each other. It was pretty serious. There was a word used you hadn't heard before. Self-flagellation. Okay, yep. But there wasn't anything they could do to change Mr. Holden's mind. Your neighbors stopped you and Cove often for the next week or so to express their concerns and disapproval of the event. Still, as they always did, days continued to pass, so did talk about Cove running away. Things eventually returned to normal as they had to. Summer kept going and you kept having experiences you shared with Cove. Aww, that was cute. I love this little chapter. The running away thing. Okay. I wanted to do it differently this time. I wanted to be in a good side with my moms and the adults, but Cove does this to me. I want to be with him. God damn it! Anyways, thank you for being with me again in this little episodes where I can't read, talk, or just work like a normal adult myself. And I will see you in the next one.
I am Peter Pan, I'll never be a man if you never wanna grow. Take my hand, I'll take you to Neverland. I am Peter